Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings everyone. Today I'll bring out my presentation for strategies for TEFL, which is titled Applying Direct Strategies to the Four Language Skills. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, for the first one, A. Creating mental linkage. First thing first. Creating first thing first. Memory strategies for language learning can be categorized into three main types, grouping to three main types. As for the first one, grouping. This method is about grouping new info into clearer clusters to cut down on random bits of knowledge, as it can mean sorting words by how they function grammatically, what they want, or their structure. For example, when picking up new English words, learners might put pronouns, adjectives, and adverbs together. Now, second, associating or elaborating. This approach ties new language bits to things learners already know or memory tricks it use, as it use personal connection or meaningful associations to boost understanding and help learners remember better. For example, learners link link the word billboard to the word board, or pair any other word to any other similar English words. And the third one is contextualizing new vocabulary, as this approach is about taking random words or phrases and putting them into a context that makes sense, like a sentence or a story, as it help to remember them better. For example, learners might come up with acronyms, or they called craft stories that include related words, which makes it easier to remember and using them in correspondent context. Now, moving to the next part, we got B. Applying image and sounds. First things first, there are four strategies that in the sub in this part, in which for the first one is using imagery. Learners create mental pictures to represent words or phrases. For example, someone might imagine a small house guarding cats to remember tax shelter, or see white seagulls flying to recall some kind of any other similar words, as this method works for reading too, as it visualizing how words are laid out on a page or drawing. Simple diagrams like arrows for prepositions can boost memory. Second, semantic mapping, as this approach lays out ideas and their relationships in a visual way using diagrams. Key terms are highlighted with related words connected by lines or arrows, as it helps with remembering information and boosts comprehension, making it useful for activities before listening or reading, as well as for taking notes. For example, learners might see maps that cluster vocabulary around terms like bullfighting or hairstyles. The third one is using keywords, as this method has two parts. As for the first one is, first learners pick a word they already know that sounds like the new one, then make a visual connection between two. For example, they could link the word called with similar sounding word they are similar with, or connect any other words, as the small sound similarity helps them remember, even if they still need to practice the pronunciation a bit more. As for the fourth one, representing sounds in memory, as using auditory methods like making rhymes or sound associations can really help stick new words in learners' memory. For example, rhymes like goat, quote, boat, or fun little verses act as sound reminders. Plus, learners can connect new words to familiar ones that sound alike or have similar meanings, as these tricks focus on sound links, which boost visual learning strategies. Now, moving to the next one, we got C. Reviewing well. Structured reviewing is a method that helps boost language skills by practicing materials at specific times. As for the first one, learners look into new words and phrases immediately, then take short breaks of about 15 minutes to an hour and gradually increase the time between reviews. As this approach makes sure that a new stuff comes in, learners keeps going back to what they learned until it sticks. Each review happens in useful context, like using the words in sentences or mixing them up, which helps in understanding and remembering. And now D, which employing action. First, first, utilizing physical response or sensation, as this approach is about connecting physical feelings to new language phrases. For example, when learners hear command and do the action, as it helps them to remember what they have learned, as this is called total physic response. Not to mention, linking certain physical sensations to different grammatical genders can make it easier to remember noun phrases. Second, implementing mechanical techniques. Mechanical techniques include tools such as flashcards or organized note-taking, as well as cards help link new words to their meaning or example sentences, and learners can sort them into different categories based on how well they know the words. As this way of organizing vocabulary, whether using movable flashcards, text, or dedicated sections in a language notebook, boosts memory retention and provides a solid way to review new terms. And now for the last one, we got E for using memory for retrieval. As memory strategies for retrieval help learners quickly understand to the target language info using the same methods they used when they first learned it. As these strategies includes recalling mental links, image, sounds, and image pairings, physical movements, or feelings that help them remember the new word or phrases. As regularly reviewing the material can enhance these connections, making it easier to access during conversations. And now, moving to the next part, we got applying cognitive strategies to the foreign language. A. Practicing. As for the first one, we got repetition, as this approach involves going over language content multiple times through listening, reading, speaking, or writing, as learners might listen to native speakers or audio clips repeatedly, read text with different goals in mind, and practice saying phrases in various ways. As repetition, techniques also include breaking down important ideas, expanding on them, summarizing, and copying native speakers to enhance learners' pronunciation, intonation, grammar, and style. Second, formal practice with sounds and writing systems. This method is about boosting listening skills and getting pronunciation right by using recording that cut down on visual and contextual instructions. As learners will be doing things like spotting stress patterns, vowel sounds, and other phonetic features through careful listening and recording themselves. On the other hand, it includes picking up new writing systems by copying letters or words, comparing how they look in learners' native language and the new one. Third, we got identifying and applying formulas and patterns, as getting to know a common formula and patterns can help learners with understanding and speaking more easily, as learners may pick up frequently used phrases like greetings or conversation starters, as if they are ready, as if they are ready-made pieces. As learners, let them mix different parts like I would like to or do this, giving them a framework that makes it easier to create new sentences and communicate more smoothly. And now for the last one, we got naturalistic practice. This method is about real communication by using the language in everyday situation and covering all four skills. For this learning, it includes live talks, recording, and activities that help learners to respond quickly. As often with some visual help, it uses real reading materials like newspaper, magazines, brochures, and menus to boost understanding. Speaking skills come from role playing, simulations, or chatting with native speakers, which help with interactive communication and cultural knowledge. And the last one is writing, is practiced through personal projects like diaries and stories, as group work like newsletters, and interactive stuff like dialogue journals or online chats. And now, next part is B, receiving and sending messages. receiving and sending messages. For the first one, you got getting the idea quickly, as this method is about quickly spotting the important stuff when learners listening or reading, as these techniques like skimming for main ideas and scanning for specific details help learners focus on what really matters and ignore the extra fluff. Preview question can also guide learners on whether to look for general themes or specific facts, as using visual aids like charts, lists, and diagrams along with taking notes, making it easier to catch the key points. For example, if someone might skim through a talk on American architecture to get big ideas, while another person might scan for details like names, ages, or specific action during a chat or while waiting for a train. Second, using resources for receiving and sending messages, as this method is about using different tools to boost understanding and communication to get a better grasp. Printed materials like dictionaries, word lists, grammar guides, Facebook, phrase books, encyclopedias, travel books, and cultural texts provide definition and context. On the other hand, non-print resources such as audio recordings, TV shows, videos, radio programs, museums, and exhibitions give a real-life language experience that enhance understanding. As when it comes to practicing language, tools like thesaurus, bilingual dictionaries, and specialized phrase books can help with speaking and writing. For example, someone might use Spanish English dictionary to figure out tricky words as check try as learners check all Spanish dictionary for more advanced learning. And now moving to the next one, we got C, analyzing and reasoning. For the first part, we got reasoning deductively. Learners use a general rules like they already understand to figure out meanings from new language they encounter. For example, by spotting certain words to or suffix pattern like oina meaning doctor of, they can guess what question is about or what name means. Second, analyzing expressions, which means breaking words, phrases, or sentences into similar parts, helps learners grasp complicated or new expressions, as this approach works great with when there is time to break down terms. Splitting a compound word or breaking a phrase into familiar chunks can show learners what that word really means. The third one is analyzing contrastively, as looking at how the target language stacks up against the learner's native language can help to spot what is like and what's different in sounds, words, and sentence structure, as this method makes it easier to find cognates and language patterns. Plus, it helps learners to watch out for false friends or words that seem similar but mean something else. The fourth one, you got translating. Translating from learner's first language to the new one can really help them to understand and get new stuff. As for the first step, translating can make things clear, but if learners just translate word for word, it might lead to mistakes or sounds weird, especially when some phrases don't match up perfectly between language. As for the last one, you got transferring, as using what learners already know from their first language or past language classes can help them to get a grip on a new stuff, as it works well when languages have similar words or grammar. But keep in mind that it can also cause mistakes if there are differences in meaning, how words are used, and the order of words. Now moving to the next part, we got creating structure. For the last part, we got creating structures for input and output. First one, you got note taking, as taking good notes is important for both listening and reading, as the aim is to jot down and organize the main ideas instead of writing everything down word for word. And if learners just starting out, they might want to take notes in their first language and then move to the language they are learning. There are different ways to format learners' notes, like using a shopping list style to group similar info, or a T-chart to short topics and details, as learners can also try semantic maps, tree diagrams, or regular outlines that break down information in various ways, as effective note-taking helps handling what learners already know and is a great tool for reviewing later. Second, summarizing. Summarizing means distilling spoken or writing content into a simpler version that highlights the main ideas. As for learners, this could involve simply providing a title that captures the essence of the materials. As learners, advanced summaries can become more elaborate as using full sentences or paragraphs to express key points. And for the last one, highlighting. Highlighting is a way to point out the most important info, as learners can do this by using colors, underlining, bolding text, or adding symbols like stars to show key ideas. This method works well with note taking and summarizing, as it helps to emphasize the main points and making it easier for learners to quickly understand and remember the crucial details. And for the last part of the applying, we got applying communication strategies for the four language skills. Which, for the first one, we got guessing intelligently in listening and reading. First, using linguistic clues, as getting to know about the target language and learner's native language can help in understanding things better. Stuff like suffixes, prefixes, and how sentences are put together can make meaning clearer. For example, if learners see words like shovel, grass, mower, and lawn, it's a good bet the topic is about gardening. Also, paying attention to stress patterns can show what is important or contrasting in a sentence. Second, using other clues besides language, context, and situation can play a big role. How people address each other, like titles, nicknames, or polite greetings, shows social relationships and status, which helps learners understand interactions better. Nonverbal cues such as tone, facial expression, and body language can help what someone really means, like picking up on an insult even if the exact words are vague. The way a text is organized with an introduction, conclusion, and transitions, and visuals like charts or images helps highlight the important ideas and details. As for the last one, adaptive use of clues. Learners use language clues and situations around them to think what is been said before and guess what comes next. As this approach works for different subjects and skill levels, as it takes into account and what someone already knows affects how they understand things. Now moving to the next part, we got B, which how is promote guessing. Teachers can get learners to guess by asking preview questions before they read or listen, stopping during a story to have them make predictions, or just sharing ending and asking them to guess what happened at the start. Using visuals can also really help, such as having learners pick out which picture matches the content or giving them half-finished sentence in the target language to complete. It's also important to give a quick feedback on how accurate their guesses are. Not to mention talking about how they come up with their guesses is great because it lets them share their thoughts and make sure they are using all the clues they have. Now moving to the last part, we got overcoming limitations in speaking and writing. First, we got switching to mother language. This method called code switching is about mixing in words and phrases from learners' first language when they can't find the right term in the language they are learning. For example, someone might use the word that sounds the one they need from their native language or blend both language in single sentence. Second, getting help, as learners can take a break or ask for help, which can lead to a chat where a partner fills a word or finishes a sentence, as they can do this by hesitating or throwing out a quick question to get native speaker to share the right phrase. Third, using mime or gesture. When talking doesn't work, learners can use actions, gestures, or even miming to get their point across. For example, someone might pretend to show how an object looks or works, or use their body to show how they feel, making sure the message gets through. Fourth, avoiding communication partially or totally. Learners might choose to steer clear of topics or hard topics or phrases, as this can mean leaving out tricky details or even cutting off a sentence to avoid confusion, which helps keeps emotions in check and let the topic move on to an easier subjects. And for the last one, We go for the last one. Fifth, selecting topic. Picking topics that match what learners already know helps make talking easier as they can steer just towards things they like favorite hobby or popular themes, while writers can go for a subject that catches their interest and connect with their readers. 6. Adjusting and approximating the message. When learners can't find the right word, they usually change the subject by making them simpler, skipping some details, or swapping in different words, as this often leads to using simpler phrases or similar terms to get what the main point across. 7. Coining words. When right words aren't available, learners often mix parts of their native language with target language to come up with totally new words. This way, they can still communicate, even if they don't have the usual phrases. And for the last one, using a circumlocution or synonym. When learners can't find the right word, they can explain the ideas by using different words or roundabout way. As learners can make also choose a similar word that fits, as this usually means giving a description or using related terms to get their point across. And that's it. I think that's all from me. I'm sorry if I caused any inconveniences. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.